Open our Bibles. Go ahead and turn to Ruth chapter number 4. Ruth chapter number 4 in your Bibles. We're going to, we might finish Ruth today. We'll see what we do, but Ruth chapter number 4. I know we took a break for a while. So, Ruth chapter 4, our theme for the book is redemption's love. Why? Because typically what you hear about the book of Ruth is it's the kinsman's redeemer, right? It's about Ruth who needed to be redeemed. Literally, we'll do a little summary because I know it's been a while since we've been here. Actually, let me ask. So what happened to Ruth? Let me get some class participation. Brother Mark, yes. Yes. So if we remember, her and Naomi, their husbands died when they went to that foreign land, right? And there was a drought, first of all, in Israel. They came back, and we know that her sister didn't go back with her and all that, lost her husband. And so she was just determined to be a blessing to her mother-in-law, right, to Naomi. And Naomi was bitter, right? You remember that sermon. And but what did Ruth do? Remember, she went out where? To do what? To glean, right, from the barley field, right? She was, in essence, they were poor, right? They were two widowed women. Both of them didn't have a husband. Looking back to get back to her land, and she was doing the job of, the Israel system had a sort of, you can call it a poor man's system, or for the poor man or for the stranger, that they were to harvest whatever was left over from the wheat. And remember, Boaz found her, and they began to get to know each other, and one thing led to another. And then what happened in chapter 3? That's what we talked about last time. In Ruth chapter 3. Yes. And what did that symbolize? So let's back up. So Ruth, she went to, essentially Boaz was sitting at the threshing floor, right? And Ruth came secretly and laid at his feet and uncovered his skirt. And what did that symbolize? Yeah, right. Kind of laying at his feet is total submission, right? Like, the way that a master, a servant would go to his master is whatever you need, like, I'm here for you. And it also took it as a sign, like, hey, I'm interested in you, right? Yeah, and so let's read that again. Let's read that again for recap. So Ruth chapter number 3, verse 8. So she went out, uncovered, verse 7. Let me just start at verse 7. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly and uncovered his feet and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself and said, Behold, a woman lay at his feet. So think about it. You're sleeping. You're laying down. Somebody's at your feet. He was scared, right? And he said, Who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thy handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thy handmaid. And that was a symbol. So her being at his feet was a sign of submission. Her asking him to spread his skirt or his garment over her was kind of a symbolic way to say, take me under your wing, right? Take care, be my husband. And so her desire to do that. For thou art near kinsman. If you remember, the law of kinsman is when a widow died. Who can remind us of that? What was the law of kinsman according to the Bible, Leviticus and Deuteronomy? A close relative of the widowed woman, right? And what would his responsibility be? To marry her, number one.
Take care of the children would be considered to be her.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So part of the honor of being an Israelite, right, you were given land. If you're a widow woman, and first of all, you're not able to take care of that land a lot of times physically and financially. And so what would end up happening, the land that has been part of your ancestry for generation after generation, it would be lost, right? And so land was everything to the Jews, right? And in fact, they were when they conquered the nation of Israel, the land was split between the tribes, right? And so if you have to give up that ancestral land that's been in your family for generations and through the family of Elimelech and all that, and it would be sold to either, another tribe or even a foreigner, that would be a tragedy. And the name also, right? So there's the land, there's the widow, the woman, and then there's the name, right? For that name to die off would be a tragedy, right? Their name was their honor. For them not to carry on the family name, that was it, is that, first of all, she needed to be redeemed, right? Wanted somebody to take care of her physically, financially, and to care for her, but to also take care of the land so it wouldn't be lost, and for that the name of the husband would be carried on, that family name. So that was what she was asking. Now, did Boaz have first claim to Ruth? Right, we learned that he didn't. That he knew, right, that there was somebody that would have had a closer, right, he was a closer kinsman, a closer relative, so somebody would have had a closer relationship with her, with a closer right to marry her. And what was Boaz's response? You remember that? Right. Look at verse 12 here. It says, "Now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit there is a nearer kinsman than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the kinsman's to thee, then I will do the kinsman's unto thee. As the Lord liveth, lie down until the morning." So I love the picture. She was saying, hey, I'm willing to submit to you. And what he's saying is, whatever the Lord wants. So we see a picture of her submitting to him, and we see a picture of him submitting to the Lord. I'm not willing to go around God's ways to get what I want, right? And she's essentially, then verse 14 to 18, she basically tells her mother this. And then he says, hey, I'm going to go to the city and talk to the men, right? So let's pick up on that in chapter number 4, verse 1. The Bible says, "Then went Boaz to the gate and sat him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by unto, he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, sell the parcel of land which was of our brother Elimelech." So let's pause right here. What's going on? What's going on in verses 1, 2, 3? Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of times in Jewish culture, what would happen is when business was transacted at the gate of the city, there's a lot of travelers that pass down, and there's a lot of witnesses. So basically, business transactions would happen at the gate of the city. And so Boaz went to the gate, and then he saw kinsman, right? The kinsman's another word for relative. He saw the man who had the legal right to marry Ruth. And he's asking them to sit down, and also 10 men, right? For what? Witnesses, right? And to observe the city, and this would be an official business transaction with witnesses and all those things. And so he brings up the subject. Naomi's come back from Moab, and she's selling her land, which was of our brother Elimelech. So let's keep going. Look what he says. "And I thought to advertise ye, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people." So now he's talking to him, saying, hey, this land is free. You can buy it. He says, if thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me that I may know. For there is none to redeem it beside thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. So he's saying, hey, there's this land available. It's available. It's your right. If you're going to redeem it, right? This is your right. And I think he's just being open and honest. And then he says, but if you're not, I'll gladly buy it. And look what happens here. Verse 5. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. I'm sorry. I skipped the verse. All right, I skipped the part. So let's read verse 4 again. And I thought to advertise you, saying, buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of the people. But if thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it beside thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I guess this is what I missed. And he said, I will redeem it. So he says, I want it. I'm going to buy the land. This is good for me. That's what he's saying. In verse 5 he says, then said Boaz. So that could have been it, right? I'm going to buy it. And he says, Boaz says this, if you're going to buy the land, you got to get the whole package, right? The woman comes with it. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. So he's to say, not only do you need the land, you need to marry the widow, you need to marry Ruth, and you also have to, share your inheritance and in the name of Naomi, right? In the name of Elimelech, and basically share your inheritance. And look what he says now. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar mine own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. So now what did he say? He changed his mind, right? Right? All of a sudden, he saw the whole deal, and he wanted the land, but not the woman. He says, now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning the redeeming and concerning the changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony, a way of transferring the title. And kind of this contract is signed sort of way, as a symbol. And this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders, unto all the people, ye are witnesses this day, that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Kilion's and Mahlon's, off the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead cannot be cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place ye are witnesses this day. So let's pause right there. So I want us to see the picture here. So first of all, Naomi was in need of a redeemer. She was not begging, but she was collecting in the field, hard work. It was a dangerous thing, and she needed somebody to redeem her, right? Literally to purchase her, right? To buy her back. And all of a sudden, there was a person who was in line, or first in line to purchase that, and he said, I want the land, but I don't want the inconveniences of, having to marry her and having to split the inheritance that I would have had for my kids and raise kids in the name of Elimelech. And so basically, here's the question. What did Elimelech have? Why did Boaz redeem her? Why did Boaz want to redeem her, but not this near kinsman who's not named? Why? Yeah, what was the reason? Why do we say? He likes Naomi. There's a stronger word than that. What's the word? He loved Naomi, right? Redemption is love. See, Boaz was the near kinsman who bought back, right? I think this is a beautiful picture of our salvation, right? In this sense that when God saw us, he was not only willing to purchase us, but everything that came with it, right? He was not willing to share the inheritance, his inheritance and his kids with other people, right? You know that we are joint heirs with Jesus Christ? That the death, his life, death, and burial, and in what he achieved on that cross, when he saved us, when he bought us back, gave us, not only took us away from the field of sin and the field of, and the chains and all that, he bought us back. He saw, he had compassion on us, and he saw us for what we were. And the reason I see Boaz as such a picture of Christ is he sees all our imperfections. He sees all the things that we're going to do wrong. He is willing to share himself with us, what he achieved on the cross. You know, we did nothing to earn that. And that, yeah, the Bible calls us in Romans chapter 8, joint heirs with Jesus Christ. So what's the thing that Boaz had that was necessary for redemption? It was love. What is the motivation for God's redemption for us? For God so what? Loved the world, right? In that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us, right? I'm blanking. Romans 5:8. Christ commandeth his love for us. That's right. In that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So here's a question. Now Boaz was going to be, or Naomi, I'm sorry, not Naomi, Ruth was going to be Boaz's wife. Did he have an obligation to take care of her? Somebody say yes. Yes, right? Because you have to take care of what belongs, what is now given to you. I think so much is the same for us. You know, God purchased us. Sometimes we think God purchased us and he just going to leave us out to dry. Sometimes we think that God paid such a heavy price for us in Jesus Christ and he's just going to leave us to wander. He's not going to take care of this need. He's not going to take care of that need. No. What is the church? Also called the what of Christ? The bride of Christ. Right? And there's a day that there's a coming day where the church, all those who are saved and redeemed are bought by the blood of Jesus Christ. And he is just waiting for the day where we can be received with him. Let's keep reading. I think there's some great pictures here. Verse 11, and all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that has come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, who did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let the house be like the house of Pharez, who Tamar bare unto Judah of the seed. Give me a second. All the people that were with, and let thy house be like the house of Perez and on Tamar, who bare Judah of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So now all the witnesses, all the elders, right, are watching this and they're saying, wow, will God bless this marriage? And did God bless this marriage and this family? Yes, look at verse 13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went into her, the Lord gave her conception and bare a son. And the woman said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left you this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom, and became nurse unto it. So I just love it. Naomi is Ruth's mother-in-law, right? And she is blessed, I believe, because of the faithfulness of Ruth, right? And she was blessed. Think about how her countenance, back in chapter 2, she said, no, call me Mara, call me bitter, the Lord had dealt right bitterly with me, and she just had this poor attitude. And now God used their situation, their widow, their loss, right? They came into the land with nothing. And now Ruth would be taken care of, and she would be taken care of, and she would experience the joy of having grandchildren. And I just love how her attitude towards God has changed. I mean, and when I think about a situation that seems hopeless, like imagine if you're Ruth in that situation, right? First of all, remember this: Ruth is not from Bethlehem; she is a Moabitess, right? And by the way, God cares for all the foreigners. God cares for all the earth, right? And in fact, I love the fact that the book of Ruth is not named after a Jew. It's named after Ruth, who is a Moabitess, right? God cares for all people. But I love how God took that situation of having a dead husband and her mom's dead husband, and now her sister, right? She had no home, right? Left her home, left her family, clung to her mother-in-law. And guess what? Her mother-in-law was not good company, to say the least. And she was just willing to do what she needed, take care of the household. And God blessed her, abundantly so. And now she's blessed because her daughter stayed faithful. And now she's taking care of her granddaughter. Now look what it says here. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and became nurse unto it. Now, I don't think she was nursing the way that we think of her. I think it was just taking care of her, right? Unless something I don't know that's going on is going on. Verse 17 says, and the woman, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi. And they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez begat Hezron, and Hezron begat Ram, and Ram begat Adab, and Aminadab begat Nashon, and Nashon begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz, and Boaz begat Obed, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David. Now, whose lineage is this? Jesus, right? So, hold on a second. A child was born of this. Now he was given the family name, and then David would be born, King David, and then Jesus would ultimately be born. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think this was on Ruth's mind when she left the land of Moab, just trying to be faithful to her mother? No. I think this is just a great picture. I don't think we understand just how much God uses everything for good, right? Even the things that we don't understand, even the things that don't make sense to us. But think about this. What was Ruth's sister's name? Well, let me give that reminder. We don't remember. We don't remember, right? It is Orpah, right? It is Orpah. Listen, and the way I read this, Orpah did what was best for her. Ruth did what was best for Naomi. Ruth had a family. Ruth had stability, right? But she chose to cling to her mother-in-law, and in doing so, chose the God of Israel over the gods of Moab. I just think about how much God uses faithfulness even down generations, right? Think about the faithfulness of Joseph. God used that to bless nations. Think about the faithfulness of just men and women throughout the Bible. I mean, even just the examples that we have. So here's the encouragement. Never be shy to walk out in faith. We never know how God is going to use that. We don't know the future generations that are impacted by decisions that are made today. Her family would now be, essentially, we think about her, but her family would now be saved. Were all of them, redeemed and had saved in the way that we think, purchased back. Now, we don't know their individual salvation, but we know this, is that they had exposure to the God of heaven. And now their family was not dwelling in the land of idolatry. And I just think about the faithfulness. The decisions that we make today impact generations. It's not about us. I mean, it's about so much more than us. I think also, let's make this application. Never stay having a spirit of Naomi. Bitterness. Of God has dealt bitterly with me. Or why is this happening to my life? I just think so much of the joy of the Christian life is robbed, not when we see the victory in the battle, but when we choose to be defeated in our own minds. Naomi was blessed. Ruth was blessed. Boaz was blessed. I know who wasn't blessed as much. That kinsman wasn't that blessed. Orpah wasn't that blessed. Even Elimelech, I mean, yes, God used it for good, but they chose to take their family out of Israel. They chose to leave the land of promise, right? And you can debate whether or not that was a good decision or not. I don't think it was a good decision. Now, did God use it? Is God's plan perfect? Did he redeem it? I don't doubt any of that, right? Here's my point. You never know how God uses faithfulness. And it's all made possible because he's redeemed us. And it's redemption's love that caused him to do that. And God did not stop loving us. He will never stop loving us. There will always be a redeeming purpose. So stay faithful, right? Stay loving, stay serving, all those things, okay? All right. Brother Andrew, sir, will you say a word of prayer, close us in prayer, and we'll be dismissed tonight.